Well, here I am, yes, Mike Hall, aka the Old Git, and I'm today going to talk about one subject and one subject only because it's really winding me up. And I want you to assimilate what I'm going to say in regards to what's happening in Europe and Western Europe. And as far as I can see, you're being taken over either by socialists, communists, Starmer's mob in the UK, and globalists, or you're being taken over by radical Islam. Either way, one or the other's going to get you. And so far, I can see that the Islamists are winning. But I want to give you, this is a cautionary tale to let you know that what's really going on and what you're up against. I do have to say, I'm using Iran as a template for being taken over because, you know, I think everybody should, anything to do with Iran right now should be spread all over the world because that regime is now being attacked by its own people. So what's happening in that country, which is one of the hardest and horriblest radical Islamic states in the world, well, it is apart from, let's say, Afghanistan, which comes a very close second. Lots of executions and that sort of thing, but it wasn't always like that. Now, we're going to first of all look at Iran before 1979 when the Islamic Revolution took place. So the modernization and westernization of Iran, how it was. You know, people who I know, I've got a very good Iranian friend who I've just caught up with again, and his mum told me she was a doctor, and she's from that time, and she said it was, it was the playground of the. Everybody went to Iran because it was a great place to go, and also, I mean, they were a Christian stroke Zoroastrian country. It wasn't a Muslim country, as it was not Lebanon before that was taken over, and one or two more. But I'm concentrating on Iran today. Now, Iran, as I said, I'd like to first of all, before we go into, I'm going to show you a little video of what it used to be like, something I've been able to find. But it was that they had urban centres, like the city, like Tehran, featured things like modern infrastructure, cinema, jazz clubs, Western style shops, and American cars in the streets. Now, that was what it was like. But let's just get the feel for that and have a look at how Iran was before 1979.
Iran, a country brimming with energy, exploding with construction and development, a dynamic state with a thriving capital. Iran today, women even playing soccer, symbol of a radical revolution against deep-rooted taboos, habits, prejudices. Iran, a unique endeavor. In an age when so many monarchies perished and Mohammad Reza Shah had ascended to the throne, Iran still adheres to her constitutionalist traditions. With the oldest constitution in all Asia, she still remains a monarchy. Symbol of the new role of women in Muslim Iran is the active participation of Farah, the Shah Banu, in representing the dynasty, the state. She's in charge of whole sectors of national life, particularly in the fields of social activities, art, and culture. The number of children in primary schools has risen from 1.7 million to 4.1 million. In high schools, from 326,000 to almost 2 million. Of 152,000 students in higher education, about 1/3 are women. In 1975, at Tehran University, 44% of all graduates in medicine were women, 47% in pharmacology as well as in social sciences, and 55% in education. Oil, the basis of Iran's wealth. The oil boom offering new opportunities, new challenges for the country's development. Steel mills built by the Russians, partly in exchange for delivery of natural gas to the Soviet Union. Iranian assembly and manufacturing plants already produce the greater part of all motor vehicles now needed in the country.
There you go. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, it was just, if you were looking at those pictures and you didn't know that I told you that was Iran before you watched it, you would have thought that could have been any Western capital in, Belgium, Holland. It could be any. The ladies had got, the men wore suits while women adopted Western fashion, including miniskirts and makeup and vibrant hair and beauty, and industries were thriving. And Iran was a fantastic place. And, you think, well, why would you want to change? But there was some problems. And, the Shah wasn't exactly squeaky clean. But even today, he was better than the regime that took over. I mean, the Shah of Iran in them days. He promoted secular education and culture, and he encouraged women to attend university and enter professions like medicine and politics. So, it was very secular. It was good. Women's rights, expanded roles. I mean, women gained suffrage that they could vote. In the 1960s, they voted and became doctors and politicians, and making up a significant portion of the university students. And even at that time, in the 60s and the 70s, before the revolution, the veil was discouraged. You remember that? Discouraged or banned in public, and women were free to dress in modern Western clothing. So that gives you the picture of what Iran used to be like. And the oil wealth and the oil revenue funded infrastructure projects lead to economic growth and a rise into the middle class with access to modern conveniences. And it was like that. It was a very, very good country, a very rich country, and the population were highly educated, women and men, and did very well. Now, the reason I've gone there is because that's how Iran used to be before these fanatical 14th century mullahs like the Ayatollah Khomeini took over in the radical sort of way that they took over. The actual takeover was a war. And but we'll come to that, because now things are going in reverse. The people have taken to the streets. The people are protesting. They want that regime gone. They've suffered enough for a very long time. So, as that's happening in Iran, in the West, we're getting taken over by the same crew, the same people who want that regime for the West. So this is a warning to you, because in a minute or two, I'm going to show you what happened to bring Iran to where it is today. Now, I have an Iranian friend, and he's educated. He's got, how can I say, they have very classy ways of living. They're honest, hardworking. These are the people his mum was from that sort of era before, and he was raised in Russia. Well, he was sent to Russia, and he was educated over there. But you couldn't find a better person. And through him, I met other people who came from Iran and from even from Afghanistan. I had a friend through him, and they were different people before the mad mullahs took over. So, please, understand, if your government is not going to do anything about your takeover, your culture, your society, your everything, and it's happening, then it's in your hands. Definitely in your hands. Now, we got that out of the way, but what was Iran after 1979, when the Mad Mullahs took over, and there was the takeover by them? It's okay, I keep doing this, but my hat keeps going out of focus. I don't know why. They all get that. So after 1979, what happened? Well, I'll tell you what. Before we discuss it, or before I wish I'd have gone live with this, to be honest, but it doesn't matter. It'll be on all the usual places. After 1979, what was it like? What happened? How did it become what it is today? Well, let's have another little video of what Iran was like after 1979.
Nostalgia is creeping through the society for the times before the revolution, which is, considering what the regime has done in the last 40 years, is completely normal. People forget that before the revolution there was still corruption, still political prisoners, there were still tortures in prisons.
Obviously for us it was like an earthquake. You know, I remember the last meal I had in Tehran, which was baghali polo, my favorite. Arrests started, schools were closed. We became refugees in the sense that we had nothing. Everything we had was in Iran.
It was like something so grand happening, you know, that everybody wanted either to be a part of it or witness it. You know, personally, I was a witness to that. And I have apologized to the people of Iran, to history, for being a witness to what that, and didn't oppose it, because none of us knew what happens after. And I think quite a number of us thought that something grand and wonderful will happen after that. Well, I had brothers who were in the revolution, and then I had the others who were not. We had members of the family who were indifferent, and members of the family who were against the revolution. We couldn't agree on things anymore, and that was within every household, within every family.
I remember tanks on the streets of my hometown. Kind of the energy and the excitement that was within the people when it was happening. I could feel it as a 10-year-old.
Thousands of people went on the street, and we joined them. We actually didn't know why we were joining those people. Those people didn't know why they were on the streets. Nobody thought that actually the Shah's regime would be gone and another regime would come into power.
The majority of the population is under the age of 35, and the revolution was now 40 years ago. So you've got a majority of people who have, I don't want to say suffered under this revolution, but have felt the consequences of it when they had no say in the matter. There's an element of despair amongst the people. The price of bread and meat goes up day by day because of the sanctions imposed. It becomes more difficult for people to feed their families.
Iran is the only country at the moment where its government and its system is not putting Iran first, the Iranian nation first, is putting Islam first. And that is the tragedy of Iran, that it is being consumed within a cause that is fiery and is illogical. Not everybody thinks the same, and we shouldn't expect everybody to think the same. What we should expect is for people to enjoy the same rights. And that's what we don't have now.
Islamic Iran is the only Iran I know. If religion take over control of everything, every law in country and your personal life, it's not going to work because people can just use your belief to suppress you. We want to change, but we don't know still what is that change. What is going to happen to Iran?
Well, it's just a short film showing that you could see in the streets there that the whole atmosphere of the place seems to have changed. It seems to be more downtrodden. It seems to be, I mean, I looked at the streets, and the state of the streets was nothing like what it was before they were taken over. They weren't kept as well. People, although it shows some smiley faces, they were not happy, and they say they're not happy, but they're not allowed to say, because if they say anything against the regime, they'll die. But let's sort of go through now verbally what happened, because you will never get it on film, because anybody who tried to make a film about what really happened would probably be beheaded or hanged, but we'll come to that too. Now, life in Iran after 1979 revolution shifted dramatically from relatively secular modernizing society to a religious theocracy, you understand the word? I don't. Characterized by initial freedoms followed by intense political social repression. The Iran-Iraq war and the imposition of strict Islamic laws, especially for women, created a new authoritarian system with clerical rule and economic shift. Now, they consolidated their power, and what they did, the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, that's his name, I can't even pronounce it, but anyway, it's Khomeini, I always get mixed up with his name, and his clerical allies quickly sidelined leftists and nationalist groups, establishing the theocratic republic with Khomeini its supreme leader, the Rabah. Yeah, Rabah, is that right? And repression begins, executions of opponents, suppression of dissidents, and the emergence of the new forms of control replaced the Shah's rule, creating a climate of fear. So people then, by this time, had realised that they're not having a very good time of it. They've realised that it may have been a mistake, but it's too late, because the fear was there. Now, there were sort of social and cultural changes, Islamic laws. New laws, they mandated conservative social values, including mandatory hijab, headscarf for women, and segregation in public spaces, sparking immediate protests. So you see that as it comes on and on, the regime is getting more and more repressive. Family protection laws, women's rights were reversed. Family protection laws were abolished. The legal marriage age for girls was lowered, and a woman faced severe restrictions in public life, with testimony offered valued at half man. So whatever she said, her testimony was half valued to what a man's testimony was. So you can see suppression of women, suppression of people, possession of the culture. There was a cultural revolution in, the universities were purged, and the secular teachers and Western influences were removed, impacting science and technology development while exposing theology students to Western thoughts. It couldn't be done, So that's how the culture started to decline and change and live in fear. But they were brutal. They were also brutal. Actually, in fact, and I mean, these figures are going to change now because what's happening now. Well, in 2025, executions in Iran reached an unprecedented 37-year high, with human rights groups verifying that more than 1,500 to 2,200 deaths. This represents a sharp escalation from the previous year, which was 832 to 901. Those were only ones that they could document, okay? And recent times and recent trends, the unprecedented surge in 2025 of executions estimated to have doubled compared to 2024 and December 2025 alone saw unprecedented 376 hangings. Response in 2020 was protests. People they've had enough. They don't want this regime anymore. So following national demonstrations that began on the 28th of December 2025, Iranian judges signalled plans for fast trials and executions for protesters. Fast trials and hangings for protesters. They didn't discriminate. They didn't care who you were, man, woman or child. A 16-year-old was executed for playing music, Western music. For example, there's more than one. You know, there's so many documents. International, on January the 15th, 2026, we're coming up to recent times, the White House reported that Iran halted 800 scheduled executions following a warning from the US administration of grave consequences. Now, I have to pick up on this because I got a lot of faith in Donald Trump, and for some reason it seems to have got a little bit cold. Because if it was me and I was Donald Trump, or any of you Western leaders that are sitting on your backsides, taking in England 96,000 a year, and you're watching these atrocities, you're too easy to give things away to people that don't deserve, but to a country that wants to help you, and they can help you because the Iran funds, the Houthis, the Hezbollah, ISIS, any of these terrorist organisations are funded by them, and these people attack the West. These are the people who are taking you over now. And by helping the people of Iran achieve what they want to achieve, you'll help the world. But you're all sitting there too busy arguing about all the insignificant stuff. This is a big thing, and it needs to be dealt with and helped. All them people in Iran, they need to be helped. I mean, the case of the 26-year-old Irfan Sultani gained international attention in early January. He was potentially first execution linked to the latest protest wave. Though his sentence was reportedly postponed, on January 21st, 2026, Amnesty International urged a halt to the planned execution of a 19-year-old Amir Hossein Gadzadeh. I think I said his name wrong, but you get the picture. Now, to make it worse, just so you understand how evil this regime is, I'm going to give you some figures that you won't believe. Iran is the world's most prolific executioner per capita. In the world, it's the most prolific. And it's responsible for approximately 64 to 74% of all recorded global executions. It's a sick society. The people who live there are terrorized. They're beautiful people. They're nice. I know from my own experience of the people that I've had dealings with. If you're making a friend of an Iranian person, they're usually your friend for life. You're not seen for 10 years and it's like you saw them yesterday. This despot Khamenei, whatever his name is, I nearly said Harmony again, the Ayatollah, has to be removed, and free elections organised by the Iranian people to live how they want to live. And I'm ashamed right now because I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but apparently 300 or the figure came through, and I don't know whether it said 300,000 or 30,000 protesters have been killed so far. If this is true, where are all the flag wavers for the genocide that's taking? Because that is a genocide. That's awful. So what are you going to do about it? I'll tell you what you're going to do about it. You're going to spread this video, and any clip you get about Iran and what's going on, share the hell out of it and make sure that everybody sees what's going on. Because believe me, folks, stop it there and you'll have a chance with your country. But right now, I feel that England's lost so far, and it's losing more rapid every day, as is Europe. And the radical Islamists are taking over. And please, do not blame all Muslims, because they're like the people in Iran. A lot of the Muslims that live in England are like the ones that live in Iran right now. They're afraid because they know what these people could do. So they won't interfere or get involved. Some will. Some are very brave, and they will. But the majority will sit quietly and hopefully it doesn't happen. Like a lot of you English and French and Dutch and Belgium and Denmark people, all of you, you're all under threat. But you think it's going to go away. Well, it's not going away. It's getting worse by the day. Take a leaf out of the book of the people in Iran who've suffered it for 40 years. They're out on the streets. They want their lives back. Don't make it so that you'll be doing the same out on the streets, wanting your life back under threat of execution. Because if nothing's done, that could be you. And it's not winning the lottery, by all means. That's it now. I've had enough of that. I thought I had to do this today. And again, I'm going to say, please, 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 you must, don't care who your friends are, send the video, not just my video, any video that you find. Take a proactive look at what's going on and help to do something about it. Help to get the governments of Europe and the world to stop these despots. That's all I've got to say. Okay? So, until the next time, it's the old git saying, I'll see you soon, hopefully. And when I do, I hope you've been passing this video around. Okay, take care now. Well, eventually we'll probably get some music or something. Who knows?